Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Which You Wouldn't Believe by Lucy May, narrated by Tiffany Morgan. Chapter 1. "I'll be back tomorrow at the latest," I said to Tara, who was the assistant manager at my bakery and a good friend. "If you need anything, call my cell. Hopefully they'll have decent service down there," I grumbled, thinking about the sleepy southern town where I grew up. "Everything'll be fine. Just go," Tara said, pushing me out the door of my own shop. "I've got this. Go take care of your business." I sighed, secretly wishing she would tell me she needed me to stay. I didn't want to go home. I'd left that place the day after I graduated and hadn't looked back in 6 years. Returning home had not been on my list of top 1,000 things I wanted to do. "Thank you. I'll check in once I know what's going on and why I need to be there," I said. She giggled. "You know why. You own the factory, which we are going to talk about when you get back. You never told me you were a lemon tea tycoon." "I'm not a tycoon. My grandmother loved her spiked lemon tea so much she made it into a business. That factory hasn't been up and running since I was a kid. Everyone in town is convinced the old building is haunted. I'm surprised it hasn't collapsed into a pile of bricks by now." "Why didn't your grandmother leave it to your mom?" she asked. I shrugged and shook my head. Because my grandma was crazy? I don't know, actually. My grandma said it was my inheritance. I inherited a giant old factory building, and I have no idea what to do with it. My mom said she had her own house and didn't need my grandmother's, but it was my destiny to inherit. Did I ever tell you that my family is a tad on the wacky side? That drew another soft giggle from Tara. "You are a little out there. Go. Quit stalling." "Fine, but I want it on the record that I don't want to go. I'm no Nancy Drew. I don't see how I can be of any help in a death investigation." "Murder investigation, and you don't have to be the sleuth. That's what the cops are there for. But as owner of the building, you could be liable," she said with a sniff. "I think it's almost better for you if it is a murder instead of an accidental death. They can't hold you liable for someone murdering someone there." "How would you know that?" She grinned. "I watch lots of crime shows." "Great. I'm 200 miles away, haven't stepped foot in that factory in almost 20 years, and now I'm to blame for some guy getting himself killed in the place," I grumbled, grabbing my purse and heading for the front door. "Try and have some fun," Tara called out as I threw open the door to my little bakery, the bell jingling behind me. I stomped down the street to my car, tossed in my purse, and pointed the nose of the car south. I was going home. Some people loved the idea of going home after being away for a while. Not me. My heart was with my bakery and the new life I had forged for myself in St. Anne, Louisiana. I loved my mom, but Lemon Bliss, Louisiana felt more like a prison than a real hometown to me. Growing up in the tiny town, I'd spent much of my time wondering about the world beyond its sleepy borders. When I had finally moved away, it had felt as if the world beyond it was gigantic and just waiting for me. Now, here I was, driving home, all because I'd inherited my grandmother's now-defunct lemon tea factory and a dead body had been found there. With a sigh, I cranked up the stereo and settled in for the drive. Rolling down the window, I let my hair fly as I sped down the highway. The sooner I got there to resolve this, the sooner I could leave. 3 hours later, I was pulling into Lemon Bliss. The town got its name before my family's lemon tea factory brought the town out of obscurity. Several family farms had lemon orchards here, hence it became known as Lemon Bliss. My grandparents had founded the lemon tea factory in the early half of the 20th century. My grandmother was known for her legendary lemon tea, made from the lemons grown on the family farm and spiked generously with vodka. Her tea was guaranteed to make you loopy and was a Southern specialty. During its heyday in the middle of the century, the factory pumped out spiked lemon tea and sold it like crazy for a few decades. After my grandfather passed away when I was a little girl, my grandmother had closed it down. The factory had sat idle since then. There were no stoplights and only one main road through town, Crooked Street. Very original. I stared ahead at the crooked oak tree at the end of the street. The tree had been there for centuries. It was a Southern live oak tree. I'd yet to grasp the difference between a live oak and a regular oak tree, but I digress. The entire town had been built around the tree. No one dared cut down the ancient tree that was as crooked as a question mark. Rumor had it the tree had been hit by lightning, split, and nearly fell over, but it was still growing, albeit crooked. I parked my car along the almost empty street and headed into what you might refer to as the town headquarters. Crooked Coffee was the place to be. It was the post office, deli, gossip hub, coffee shop, and then some. Having lived away for years, I'd forgotten how good this place was. The moment I pushed through the screen door, I was assailed with the scent of fresh coffee and baked bread. I was starving and needed sustenance before I tracked down the sheriff who'd called me about the body found in the factory. Glancing around, I saw that the place was busy, even though it was late afternoon. I threaded through the small round tables scattered about the place and stopped in front of the counter. "Hi," I said, grabbing the attention of the lone employee. "Is that you, Violet Broussard?" I glanced around, following the high-pitched voice that rang out across the coffee shop. I froze. I hadn't contemplated how to deal with running into anyone. My eyes landed on Lila Montgomery, a friend of my mother's, as she made her way from the door to me. I silently sighed. I wasn't up for being grilled, but I'd best get ready. "Why, yes it is. I knew it. I could spot you from anywhere," Lila said as she reached my side. I took a deep breath, pasted on a smile, and turned to her. "Hi, Lila." "Why, look at you, dear. You are just as beautiful as your mother, sweetie," she replied. Lila looked mostly as I'd remembered, still thin and spry with bright blue eyes. Her once dark hair was now gray with a lavender hue, as if her stylist was a touch off with the coloring. "Thank you, Lila," I said, turning around to face the deli counter again. I wasn't going to get off that easy. She remained at my side as I ordered a sandwich and coffee. "Are you here because of that unfortunate business at the factory?" she said in a low, conspiratorial tone. I should have known Lila would have the 411 on anything happening in Lemon Bliss. "Sheriff Smith called and asked me to come down," I answered. Lila rolled her eyes. "Oh, Harold, always making a big to-do about everything. Unless," she said, leaning closer, "unless he thinks foul play is involved. I hear it was murder, but who would ever do such a thing?" "I have no idea. I'm just hoping I can get things taken care of and get back home," I said, paying for my sandwich and coffee. "Oh, dear, your mom misses you something fierce. You should visit more often. She'll be so happy to see you in town where you belong." "It's difficult to visit regularly. I own my own business and can't always get away," I explained a little tersely. Lila reached out a hand and touched my hair. "You look so much like your mother. That black hair is so pretty. I always envied your mama's hair." I leaned back, managing a smile. Lila was eccentric, even more so than my mother, which was pretty hard to beat. "Thank you, Lila, but I need to go find the sheriff." She tisk-tissed me. "That is some nasty business. Murder in our little town. Who'd have thought? It's a real whodunit." I don't know if anyone knows it was murder just yet, I reminded her. The sheriff said he just has some questions about the factory. She nodded her head. Mm-hmm, I bet he does. He's always been nosy about that place, and us, for that matter, she said under her breath. What do you mean? I asked. Lila, are you bothering this poor woman? A strange man stepped toward us, interrupting the conversation. My attention was immediately drawn to him. He was new in town. Well, maybe not new, but he hadn't been around when I'd moved away. Oh, Gabriel, you flirt, Lila cooed, slapping his arm playfully. Gabriel, sweetie, this is our lovely Violet. You know her mama, Virginia. The Broussard women are one of the oldest families in town. In fact, her great-grandmother was one of the founders, really. That old lemon tea factory. Honey, you're looking at the owner. Gabriel looked at me, and I fell into his wide blue eyes. The man was far too handsome for his own good, with sandy blonde hair, a strong, square jaw, and a dimple in his cheek when he smiled. Sweet Jesus, he sent a little flutter through me. The owner of the lemon tea factory, he said with feigned excitement, obviously meant as sarcasm. I'm Gabriel Trahan, pleased to meet you, he said, extending his hand. It isn't every day you meet lemon tea royalty. You must be new to town, I commented as I shook his hand. Another one of those 1,000-watt smiles. Good point. I moved here last year. My Aunt Coral lives here. Then I'll forgive you for not bowing to royalty, I quipped. What kind of work do you do? His mouth curled at one corner in a flirty grin that made me instantly think he was trouble. I didn't want or need trouble. I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I fix things, build things, whatever needs doing, I do. He's really a very helpful young man in a town full of women of a certain age, Lila said with a big smile. I dropped his hand. I have to get going. It was nice to meet you, Gabriel. Good to see you, Lila. Oh, now, don't run off, Lila cajoled. Lila, I need to get moving. I promised Sheriff Smith I'd go straight to his office. The sheriff? Gabriel chimed in, his dark blonde eyebrows hitching up. That was all the invitation Lila needed. The woman was a world-class gossip. I couldn't remember a time when she wasn't talking about someone doing something or sharing details of something happening in town. She was a hub of information. Yes, she drawled out in her exaggerated southern accent. Violet here owns that big old factory on the other side of town. A man was found dead inside. The sheriff suspects foul play. Gabriel looked at me. It wasn't surprise I was reading in those endless blue eyes. It was something else, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I rolled my eyes. We don't actually know anything yet. Lila has a very vivid imagination. That sounds, surprising. The factory is abandoned, right? Gabriel asked. I shrugged. I don't know about abandoned, but it's been empty for years. He nodded, holding my gaze. If it was empty, how did anyone know there was a body inside? Lila winked. That's a good question. It's a mystery. You're only encouraging her, I told him. He chuckled. Sorry, I have to be going. Good to see you again, Lila. He turned his gaze back to me. His scrutiny made me squirm a little. Maybe I'll see you around. I'll be leaving as soon as I talk to the sheriff, I shot back. Too bad. He grinned and left the building. Lila was looking at me with eyes that saw too much. Sometimes I almost believed the rumors about her being a witch. You know that sheriff wants to blame it on us. Well, your mom anyway. He's always had it out for all of us. she clucked, shaking her head. "What are you talking about, Lila? Why would he blame my mother for murder?" She grabbed my arm and pulled me into the corner of the room. "Because we're witches," she whispered. "He's convinced we're responsible for anything that happens in this town." "Oh, Lila." "It's time, sweetie," she whispered. "Time for what?" I asked, growing more confused by the minute. She stood up to her full height and looked directly into my eyes. "Violet, it's time for you to take your position as leader. It's time to pass on the torch from mother to daughter." Lila wasn't that old. She was my mother's age, but obviously she had dementia. Leader of what? The coven. What? Lila, you've been watching too much TV. She put her hands on her hips and stared me down. "No, I haven't. It's time, Violet. We've all waited long enough. It's time." With a shake of my head and a laugh, I walked out of the building. I wasn't about to entertain her crazy nonsense. Chapter 2. I drove straight over to the small building that housed the city hall and the sheriff's office. The sheriff wasn't in, which only fed my impatience. I had driven 3 hours to talk to him in person, and the man didn't have the decency to wait for me. "When will he be back?" I asked the elderly woman who acted as his secretary and dispatcher of sorts. "Why, I couldn't say. He got called out to old Mrs. Blankenship's place. Someone broke into her root cellar again." I nodded my head in understanding. It was the same call she made every week since as long as I could recall. The woman had been senile since I was a little girl. She was convinced someone broke in and stole all her homemade jelly. Every week. When I was a teen, we had staked out the root cellar on more than one occasion to see if we could catch the culprit. We never did, and it wasn't long before I started to suspect the theft was all in Mrs. Blankenship's head. "Thank you. Can you please tell him Violet Broussard stopped by and I'm hoping to talk with him soon?" The woman smiled. "I know who you are, dear. I'll tell him just as soon as he gets back. Will you be staying at your grandmother's house?" "I suppose I'll have to," I managed. What I'd hoped to be an afternoon trip was looking like it would definitely be more than that. "I'll let him know you were here," she said. "I stopped by to smell the flowers at your grandmother's house the other day. It's like she is still there, tending those beautiful roses," she said wistfully. I nodded, wondering if she was also going a little senile. "Glad they are still blooming." "Oh, sweetie, they are the talk of the town. I think she bewitched them." "Bewitched who?" I asked, suddenly on guard after what Lila had said. "The flowers. No one has that green of a thumb. I imagine it was one of her magic spells that made them so pretty." "Okay. All right, well, I guess I'll go check on the house and those flowers. Please let the sheriff know I'm short on time and would rather get this all done and over with as soon as possible." The woman giggled. "You know Harold. The man likes to take his sweet time doing anything." Clamping my jaw shut, I bit back my retort. I knew that, which was why I'd been reluctant to drive down here in the first place. Lemon Bliss and its people moved as slow as molasses. I had better things to do than sit here and wait around for the sheriff to ask questions I couldn't possibly answer anyway. Beating back my annoyance, I walked back to my car. Harold Smith, Lemon Bliss's one and only sheriff, had all but ordered me to get down here, and then he wasn't even around to ask me the questions he claimed were too important to go over on the phone. Dang it. I muttered once inside the safety of my car. Staring out the windshield, I debated what to do. It was just about spring, and a cluster of azaleas was filled with buds in the front of the police station. Scanning the area, I took in the quiet downtown with its picturesque storefronts, sidewalks lined with flower boxes soon to be awash with blooms, trees scattered along the streets creating a canopy of shade, and a few people strolling along the sidewalks. Lemon Bliss was a quiet, peaceful town. If you didn't know it was the year 2018, you could easily land here and wonder if it were 1950. Not much had changed. Oh, the residents weren't stuck in the past or anything. It was just that Lemon Bliss was far enough from any urban areas. It stayed quiet, and people liked it that way. When my stomach growled, I remembered my sandwich and quickly scarfed it down, hoping Harold would return by the time I was finished. He didn't. So, I guess it was off to my grandma's house, or my house, rather. I had inherited the Victorian home along with the factory. I had debated the merits of selling it, but couldn't bring myself to do it. It felt wrong. My mother didn't want it, citing my destiny and all that jazz. She was living hers, and I had to live mine. More of my mother's wild ramblings. I drove to the edge of town, past the crooked oak tree and towards my grandma's house. I could see the factory in the distance. Seeing the old gray building that stood sentry over the town sent a shiver down my spine. The place had always given me the creeps. It was a massive old place in a town filled with two-story homes and quaint buildings. Nothing else was nearly as big as that factory. As I pulled into the driveway of the big Victorian home, I stared. The flowers were growing out of control. Thousands of colorful flowers covered the yard, snaked up the covered porch rails, and completely swallowed the small white picket fence I knew I had passed when I pulled in. "Wow!" I exclaimed, staring at the vivid explosion of color. Now I understood what the secretary had been talking about. It was an amazing display that would make any gardener envious. I was going to have to send the caretaker I hired a special thank you note. I had never seen such healthy, abundant flowers. That person deserved the credit, not some silly rumor about witchcraft. Climbing out of my car, I walked up onto the front porch. Grandma's favorite wooden rocking chair was still there. It didn't look the least bit worn. I sat down, inhaling the scent of the flowers and smiling, thinking of my grandmother. I missed her. I pulled out my phone, hoping I would have a signal, and called Tara. "Hi," she greeted. "Don't tell me you're already on your way back." I chuckled. "I wish. No, looks like I'm going to have to stay the night," I said, checking my watch. "The sheriff got called out. I'm waiting to talk to him, but the man isn't exactly efficient," I explained with a sigh. "Oh, I'm sorry, but it'll give you time to visit your mom at least, right?" I cringed. I knew my mom would lecture me about not visiting. "Yes, I suppose." "Is there like a haunted hotel you get to stay in?" she asked excitedly. "No, I'll be staying in my grandma's house. My house," I corrected, still unable to accept ownership of the beautiful place. "You own a house?" she asked, her tone shocked. "Yes, it was my grandmother's. She willed it to me." "Holy cow! I didn't know you were loaded. I think we need to be better friends," she teased. "Your grandmother left you everything?" "Yes. My mom did get a sizable cash inheritance, but everything else came to me." I left out the part about me receiving the bulk of her fortune. I didn't like people to know that. "Trust me, if you saw what I inherited, you would be running the opposite direction." "I doubt that. Is it a big house?" I turned to look at the house behind me. "I guess. It's old. It was built at the turn of the 20th century. My grandma modernized it somewhat, but not a lot. It has 4 bedrooms, all on the small side, and 2 bathrooms. That sounds amazing. Take pictures. I want to see it. She laughed. Is it haunted? What is it with you and haunted houses? You know I love that stuff. I can't wait until Halloween. I've got plans to go to New Orleans this year. Don't forget, I'll be gone that whole week. She reminded me for what had to be the 10th time. Halloween was months away, but she planned ridiculously far in advance. I know, you crazy woman. One of these days you'll realize all that stuff is nonsense. Nope, never. I believe in the supernatural. You should too, she said decidedly. There are all kinds of creatures that walk among us. All you have to do is believe. I hated talk of that kind of stuff. It hit a little too close to home since I had grown up under a cloud of suspicion. There had always been rumors around town about my mother and grandmother. I always reminded my friends that I would be the first to know if the rumors were true, but it didn't help. Nothing ever stopped the gossip from periodically making the rounds. I don't believe a bit of it, I told her, meaning it. How's everything going there? I said, pointedly changing the subject. She giggled. Everything is fine here. Relax and enjoy your visit. Oh, I have a customer coming in. Better run. Call me as soon as you know something. I have to live vicariously through you. Rolling my eyes, I hung up the phone. So glad someone was enjoying this mess. I fished out the set of keys I'd been carrying around for years, though I'd never used them. They had come in the mail, along with the deed to the house and factory. I had hired a caretaker when my mother refused to keep an eye on things for me, saying it was my responsibility. I had taken great satisfaction in hiring the caretaker. That showed her. Here goes nothing, I muttered, expecting layers of dust, cobwebs everywhere, and furniture covered with sheets. I pushed open the front door and stood stock still. I couldn't move. The house was exactly as Grandma had left it. I could almost smell the scent of fresh-baked bread coming from the old kitchen. Once again, I reminded myself to send the caretaker a note. The home was in immaculate condition. The gleaming mahogany floors had been waxed and polished to a high sheen. My fingers trailed over the arm of one of the antique couches that faced 2 antique armchairs. All were clean without a speck of dust. I made my way through the sitting room and into the kitchen, where I had many fond memories of baking with my grandmother. I stood in the kitchen and closed my eyes. I could practically feel her there, her hands busy kneading dough on the large butcher block on the center island. I could smell the yeast mingled with the ever-present scent of lemon in the air and hear her voice as she told me stories while she worked. I missed her terribly. I thought I'd find you here. My mother's voice cut through the vivid memory. I spun around, startled to see her. Hi, you scared me. Were you spending some quality time with your grandmother? She asked, completely serious. That was my mom, spirit communicator. No, I was just remembering baking in here with her. It always smelled like bread and lemons, and it still does. She nodded with a knowing smile. She's here. What? You can feel her. You have to admit that, Violet. Every time I come here, I can feel her. Close your eyes and open your mind. I shrugged. I didn't have to admit anything. My mom was the daft one who did the spirit thing, not me. Have you been keeping the place up? I asked, suddenly wondering if my mom had changed her mind. No, I came by earlier today and put fresh linens on the bed and removed those horrible sheets from the furniture. I wanted it to be ready for you. Those sheets make it look so drab in here. I hate those things.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?